My title is as introduced, but not directly related to the climate change itself. But my today's presentation is kind of background of those issues. That one of the very important issues, I think, the population over the nation. Because as Dr. Adrian mentioned about the city is quite important place. But the city is a very variation of the city, especially its size. So the size means the population size I mentioned. So today, what I want to talk about is how this population distribution may affect on our life and potentially for the climate change or our environment. So and this is the background. So as explained in the previous presentation, the urban mitigation and adaptation is required, obviously, in cities. And at the same time, urban resilience is also the issue, which is the shock by the climate disaster, or in Japan or Philippines, maybe we are facing some other earthquakes or the other disasters as well. And also, maybe we need to consider about the national security for our to secure our lives. But these risks and changes have a wide variety of impacts, and maybe the countermeasures which should be different by city depending on the situation. And here the city size is one of the dominant factor for those variations, and therefore my concern is about the migration pattern inside the country between cities, especially in this today's presentation. I focus on Japan, but maybe a similar issue can be found in Philippines and Thailand as well. So I'd like to talk about this migration issue and its impact on our life. So, I added one figure related to the climate change and adaptation issue. This is the tunnel to discharge or store the waters in the case of flooding. So the Tokyo, here the Tokyo is also the very flat place, and they have suffered many flooding in past. But they have so much huge investment on the flood control, not only including the river construction, but also this kind of underground tunnel to storage water in times of flood. So this kind of investment is possibly very effective in large cities, because around these areas, so much property value is quite expensive. So this kind of investment can pay for the affordable in large city. But of course, the small and middle-sized city, it is not affordable. It is too expensive. And currently, just now, the governor of Tokyo Metropolitan Government is visiting Bangkok and meeting with the governor in Bangkok, and they're talking about this kind of urban resilience and investment on the flood control issue as well. But that is the case of Bangkok, and maybe the other small or middle-sized city may need the other measures to tackle or to adapt to those climate change or the related climate disasters. And here, this figure shows the city size distribution in several countries, and Japan is something like this slope. And this figure shows the horizontal axis shows the population, and the vertical axis shows the rank of the city. So the largest city is this position. Highest population and the rank is first, and this figure means that the slope is steep. It is that the national land population distribution is more dispersed, but in case of Thailand, the slope is very flat. This means highly concentrated on the primary city. So it is, of course, France is also similar situation, and Japan is also quite concentrated on the Tokyo, but Thailand is also facing very concentrated national population distribution. And the population share of the primate city is shown in this figure. So the Japan is quite high compared to the European cities or United States. But in some Asian cities is much higher. For instance, Korea is quite high population in primary city. But in case of Thailand, I'm not sure this statistics is representing the real situation or not. But still, in this statistics, it's about 10%. But I'm not sure this is reflecting actual population distribution. But anyway, the population is the primary city is attracting population in many countries. And this is a case of the time series of Japan migration pattern. And the red line shows the Tokyo population change. So here is a zero means neutral. And Tokyo is continuously increasing its population. And Osaka or Nagoya is in past, it increased the population, but currently, recently, it is almost stable. So the who migrate to Tokyo is from the other small and medium-sized city. So this kind of migration pattern it continued last 20 years. So there is of course a merit and demerit for the concentration of the population to the primary city or the large city. So the pros is of course the economical benefit by agglomeration due to the population is concentrated. Then many things can be effective on the efficient. One reason is high amenity by sharing. Sharing means many people can share the same infrastructure or culture or some other things. So it is very effective. And also it will create or innovate some higher possibility of innovation, or there's much job opportunities. Therefore, the people tending to move to the large cities. But at the same time, there's cons like high living costs. Maybe many people who live in the primary city is facing those high living costs, and also the congestion is also the problem. And also the access to the environmental amenity like a green space is taking a cost compared to the local small, medium-sized city. And also there is a big risk in the city as well. And also, this is a viewpoint from the metropolitan cities or large cities. But at the same time, from the viewpoint of small city or medium-sized city in peripheral region, there's many cons for this migration. For instance, population under the population decline. Actually, in Thailand, I think the birth rate is already lower than Japan. I think Japan is already facing the population decline, but maybe in future, Thailand will facing the similar situation. And I'm not sure Philippines is the Philippine situation, but in case of population decline, maybe workforce will also reduced in small city, especially in small city, because those young people is moving to the metropolitan cities. And also, this migration will deteriorate the urban services from the viewpoint of the decline of both supply and demand, both. And also, that will consequence is less job opportunities. And if the population is declining too much, those regions cannot sustain. So those culture of those cities will diminish over from the nation. That would be the cons from the viewpoint of peripheral cities. So we have analyzed my research. I have analyzed about how these kind of migration affect on the welfare. Actually, there is pros and cons. So if the pros, the merit is higher, then it is no problem. But if the demerit is higher, then maybe we need some kind of policy intervention for the national land planning. So in my analysis, I have several assumptions. First assumption is the effect of population to the wage length and commuting time. So if the urban population increase, wage length and commuting time will increase. This is assumption. And second assumption is household is living in a city and they maximize their utility by consumption of goods and residential area and income and time constraint. So the large city has higher income and they can spend their money for consumption, the goods and also residential area. But those prices will be also high. So that I have compared this income and living cost for each city. So I have analyzed we have in Japan maybe around 200 city area. So we have analyzed those cities for wage, length, and commuting time. And we have modeled these factors using the data set from 2013 to 2020 statistics. And we have estimated the change of utility and the welfare under the observed migration. And also we compare this welfare change with the counterfactual situation that is assuming no migration during this period. So if there is a population migration is fixed, and compare the welfare with observed migration pattern. So this is the workflow. So we just assume the migration, and then that will change the wage, commuting time, and the housing rent. Then that will affect on the people's welfare. At the same time, separately, we estimated the income from rent for the absent landlord here. I have just separately evaluated these factors. And this is the observed migration pattern. So the blue is increased and the red is decreased. So in the Japanese case, for this period, 2013 to 2020, Tokyo or Nagoya or some large cities have increased its population, but many of the other cities have decreased its population. Osaka is also decreased its population. And so this is the estimated welfare change under the observed migration. So red means a negative. Negative means they lose the welfare, so they decrease the utility for living. So the Tokyo is also red. So Tokyo means this means that Tokyo's living standard is also declined due to the population. That is our estimate. But not only Tokyo, but also the other small-sized city most city has decreased. So I will explain why this happens by decomposing by factors. First, the income change shows in this figure, and blue means increase, and the red means decrease. So the Tokyo increases the income because of the population is inflow and agglomeration effect is significant. Therefore, the income in Tokyo is increased. But on the other hand, small cities is losing their population, so the income is decreased. So the income that means red shows the income decrease due to the depopulation. And this is the case of the housing rent change. So the blue is increased and red is decreased. So of course, the housing rent is increased in Tokyo due to the population inflow. So the housing demand is increased. So the rent is increased. On the other hand, small cities are losing its population. Therefore, the housing demand is decreased, but the supply is not changed. So we estimate the price of the rent is potentially decreased. And from here, I'd like to compare with the counterfactual situation with the observed migration. So that if we fix the migration pattern for the period, then Tokyo may lose its population. That is a counterfactual case. And on the other hand, the small, medium-sized city is maintain its population in some sense. Then the welfare is welfare compared to the counterfactual and observation is shown here. So the blue is positive. Positive means that if we stop the migration, then almost all the cities has increased its welfare, even in Tokyo as well as the other small size city, because that is the balance of the income change and living cost change. So if the population pattern is fixed, it is much better than the concentration onto the Tokyo. And of course, the wage is decreasing in Tokyo and increase in small cities. But at the same time, floor rent is decreasing in Tokyo and increase in small city. So this balance will increase in total, increase the welfare. So, sorry, this is something wrong, but this is a comparison with the we assume the migration and counterfactual. So this is quite difficult to explain, but if we assume the observed migration pattern, small city utility is declined much, and at the same time, large city also decrease its utility. But if the migration is fixed in counterfactual case, the decline is lower. So this difference is explained by the welfare change. In summary, we analyze the past migration in Japan, and that is decline the welfare of people both in most of large cities and small cities. But at the same time, the landowner had benefit from the housing rent increase in large cities. But those in out-migrant cities have lost the benefit. And to comparison with the counterfactual, to increase the wealth of the people, economic development in small middle-sized city is, of course, inevitable, and both for large cities and small cities. So this small middle-sized cities development, economic development, will benefit for large cities as well due to the change on the migration. And also, climate change mitigation in medium-sized city will be important because if we, of course, large city is more efficient in terms of the climate policy. So maybe this kind of middle-sized city policy for the climate change is quite important, especially in transport. And also the dispersion of the primate city functions to the other cities will decrease the risk of the and increase of the resilience. And today's presentation is already published, so this is just in this January. It is accepted and it is open access. So if you have interest, please look at this our paper. Okay, thank you very much.